units with huge discounts. Plus, we have brand new Sierras, $14,000 off list, or starting at $37,105, or 0.9% APR on select new models. Yes, you heard right. $14,000 off or 0.9% APR on new Sierras starting at $37,105. So please check us out at cobblecars.com. All deals with roof credit. Stock number G289358.
Mike, I've been thinking our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes. Sarah down the street had Roofing Service Company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
Is your child 7 to 8 years old and wanting to get involved in competitive baseball or softball? The Nebraska Dominators have been active in the youth sports community since 1994 and are currently holding tryouts for their 7U and 8U baseball and softball teams. Visit the Nebraska Dominators Facebook page for more info today and provide your player the path to a successful and enjoyable youth sports experience with the help of the Nebraska Dominators.
A lot of businesses say they're family focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business wants anything but your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, just as they do their customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and a diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills Global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in temperature-controlled high-end wine room. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for spirits and cigars. That's Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America. Welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome in to Ticket Weeknights. Harrison Arens on the ones and twos. As always, come 6 o'clock. You guys can join in 402-464-5685 right here on the day before 4th of July. Hopefully everyone's off work, getting ready for the holiday weekend. And, of course, if you guys want to put a face to the voice, Facebook, YouTube, X, Allo, Channel 961. We're going to keep it pretty loose here for this hour. And then from 7 to 8, before we get to some more Royals baseball, we'll replay that AJ Ferrari interview in case anybody missed that one. But in the meantime, we'll keep it live here. So if you guys want to get your live questions in, this would be the hour to do so. Like I said, we'll keep it live. We'll talk NBA, and then we'll just dive into Husker football. We're getting into that point, July 3rd here. And it was really about last year at the same time where you start to get some of the more confident statements from Matt Rule about the team, about their progression. This year it's been a little more quiet, but there seems to be a little more faith in it from the outside media, not coming from within the actual football team. So we'll talk about that as well. But before we do, like I said, let's talk some NBA here. Really, the biggest thing that's interesting to me, and we've been through plenty of trades, obviously Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets, Miles Turner ends up moving on from the Indiana Pacers. But what's really interesting that's kind of been going on as of late is the Lakers and the LeBron James situation. So this is from Brian Windhorst, and this is on LeBron James and how they're maybe viewing his contract. LeBron James has yet to have a contract where it was not extended or he forced his way out on that final year. So this is his quote. My conversations over the last 3 days have crystallized that the Lakers are essentially viewing LeBron as an expiring contract. Adding James has never made it to the final year of a contract over his career. What happens to expiring contracts in the NBA, they're viewed as trade pieces. So for all those reasons, the money, the fact LeBron and Luka are still a formidable duo, the fact the Lakers are not done with their offseason, the fact that trading him is crazy, the fact that this is being built around Luka and they've got to maintain their cap sheet. Everything in that makes sense, but I'm just unlocking the door because I'm not as convinced as I was before that a trade is an impossibility. So he's basically putting it out there. The fact that LeBron James, the way his contract's going right now, most of the time that means it's expiring contracts. But if you look what the Lakers have around, it doesn't seem like the time necessarily to move away from him. But there is a possibility that LeBron James and the Lakers, maybe he does get traded. I can't say that I'm confident in that happening as of now, but it would be interesting to see what they add in this offseason. They already got DeAndre Ayton has been a very consistent, solid player. You know, with the Phoenix Suns and Chris Paul is probably where I think I saw the best version of DeAndre Ayton. Any center who's working with CP3 in that era, you know, coming from OKC, what he did with SGA, then he goes over to the Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, that crew, they have one of their best runs with the Phoenix Suns. They make it to an NBA Finals. Unfortunately, they lose to the Milwaukee Bucks. And now we all know Chris Paul's over there with the San Antonio Spurs. But that run with Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, like those big three, that was the best version of the Phoenix Suns we saw in a long time. And DeAndre Ayton looked like he was going to have some breakout moments, especially after that first year with Chris Paul. And he just kind of hovered around being a really consistent but not elite big. And you get in some tricky areas, especially with centers. How much are you willing to pay for a good center, but not necessarily a star center? And then you also have the problem of LeBron James opted in for extra money. You know, he's obviously not going to take his pay cut. So that restricts your salary cap a little more. You brought Luka in. The problem with the Lakers is all the money was tied up with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Now all the money's tied up in Luka Doncic and LeBron James, and even more so because LeBron's salary is getting even bigger because he opted in. So Lakers, you know, I think they're going to be a good team, but it's going to feel like a lot of what it was last season. If Luka and LeBron are just a little bit off, I think they're going to lose a lot of ball games. Even with DeAndre Ayton in there, like I said, I think he's a good center, but he needs to be helped. I think him and Luka will be great together on the court. Not so sure if Ayton without LeBron or Luka on the court, how effective he can really be. Because again, I just don't think that offense scares a whole lot of people when either of those guys are off the floor. So looking at the Los Angeles Lakers right now, they need to make some moves. But again, it just comes down to that salary cap being tight, being really wrapped around two massive players in LeBron James and Luka Doncic. So that's why with Windhorst, I think he is putting it out there. It might be a possibility because this team with Luka, if you got rid of LeBron, you can make some serious moves that get some valuable assets. And if there's any Lakers fans, I'm curious if you would actually want to do that. 402-464-5685. If you'd be willing to trade LeBron James to free up some cap space, get some other stars in there. Even though I'm not the biggest LeBron James fan, I think it'd be a bad move right now with what you just did. I still think he can be competitive. DeAndre Ayton, you at least wait until that February deadline before you decide anything right now. But if you're winning games and it's looking good, you're looking competitive, I mean, you got to hold on to LeBron James. And ultimately, I think they will because the amount of money he brings in, even if it's not a bunch of wins on the court, is a ton. And the Los Angeles Lakers, big market, they make a ton of money just off of LeBron James and what he brings to that team. So if they want to win, there's an argument that you should actually trade him, but just what he brings for the team value-wise, not in terms of like actually on the court, just real dollars. LeBron James is a huge asset. So I'm still leaning that they're not going to do it. With that being said, other news, we talked a little bit before. Mike Brown, last head coaching stint was the Sacramento Kings. Now, actually had them pretty competitive. Wasn't definitely elite by any means. Then he gets let go, and he's getting another opportunity now, supposedly with the New York Knicks, if it continues to head in the direction they think it's heading. And I'm okay with the hire. The whole problem is like you fired Coach Tibbs for, I'm assuming what they thought was, I don't even want to say mediocrity because they were not great. Then he brought him to mediocrity, and then he brought him to the Eastern Conference Finals. So if you make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, you're anything but mediocre. And year after year, he's getting more wins than losses outside of one anomaly. But he was on the right track, and that team, win-loss at the end of the year, was better year by year outside of just one little blip, and it wasn't even a massive drop-off. So to fire Coach Tibbs and get in a guy like Mike Brown, who you go look at his entire NBA coaching career, good regular seasons, struggles in the postseason. It's the exact same thing they just fired Coach Thibodeau for. So I'm not against Mike Brown. I think he's a good coach. But if you're going to fire Coach Thibodeau for failures in the playoffs, why are you bringing in a guy who's been fired at previous stops for his inability to perform in the playoffs? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Then you got the chemistry issue, unless it was a real thing where the players didn't like Coach Thibodeau, but I highly doubt that. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they don't like the minutes, but I'm sure there's a respect value there. Like I said, to me, it feels like a lateral hire. I don't think the Knicks are going to fall apart now because they fired Thibodeau and they hired Mike Brown. I don't think they're going to get any better either. I think they're going to remain at what they were last season, and they might still push for an NBA Finals, because if you go look at that Pacers series, the New York Knicks, they really could have won that series. There was a few games, not just a few, a lot of games throughout the Pacers' entire run, and then it showed up amply in that New York Knicks series where they're up at times 20 points in that fourth quarter, or heading into the fourth quarter, and they just completely fall apart. And that was the Pacers never die run. It felt like that entire postseason, but it says a lot about the New York Knicks, and they really weren't that far off. If you go look at those games in that Eastern Conference Finals, you weren't that far off. And if you want to blame Coach Thibodeau for those late quarter collapses, you can. But at the same time, just go look at the shots the Pacers were hitting. Naismith coming off and hitting, I can't remember what the exact, I want to say 6 of 7 from threes late in one of those early games in the series. It's just incredible shooting and unfortunate luck for the Knicks and incredible luck for the Pacers. And Thibodeau got fired for it. In the NBA, you see it all the time with coaches. They get fired for having good teams that struggle in the postseason. When you go over into the NFL, it is the polar opposite. You get great coaches, and as long as they're winning enough games, making it to postseason more often than not, they're going to keep their job. NBA just feels so backwards. New York, not New York, Denver Nuggets. They make it a strong seed in the Western Conference Finals. Really, an incredibly loaded West. Because you look at all those teams when it got down to those last few games of the regular season, really just a couple games, one game apart. But Michael Malone got that team to a good spot, brought him to another playoff appearance, and then gets fired just right a few weeks before the playoffs even start. So the guy who got you a ring, your first ever ring, who built up that roster, who noticed the talent of Jokic and decided to build the team around him, and it's worked incredibly well, and then you fire him right before playoffs. And maybe there's a little bit of disgruntlement between the GM and the head coach, but again, I just still don't understand how that means Mike Malone has to go, because he's not happy with the GM. I wouldn't be happy with the GM either. That team got worse. It wasn't better than last year's team. Jokic had to do a lot more, hence what I thought he had the MVP season. But, tip your cap to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. His season was phenomenal as well. So he had to play at an unreal level, and he did so, still running through that Mike Malone offense, and then he gets fired anyways. And then you have the interim head coach, Adelman, taking over, which is just confusing to say the very least. He did well in the playoffs, but you really wonder how much of it was Jokic seriously just running the entire show at that point. Because, you even got some of those press game post conferences where Adelman's talking about, I love it when Jokic coaches. I'm going to let him do it. I want him to coach more. So no disrespect to the now head coach of the Denver Nuggets, but again, firing Mike Malone made no sense. You go to the Bucks series with the Miami Heat back in the day. Budenholzer falls to the 8-seeded Miami Heat. Play-in team that makes it through. No one's really thinking anything of. So that first round, I was really soon after that first round, you fire Budenholzer out of Milwaukee after he just had some tragic family news as well, which wasn't great. And then the Miami Heat, what do you know? They make it all the way to the NBA Finals. And that Miami Heat team that you panicked, fired your coach on, was actually a really good team. Maybe not in the regular season, but that postseason, absolutely. And they make it all the way to the NBA Finals, but you already fired Mike Budenholzer in what I felt like was a panic fire. And then same thing with Nick Nurse and Toronto Raptors. He brings that team to relevance. And despite that, once you have that expectation in the NBA, a couple bumpy seasons, they don't give you any credit for things that you've done in the past. And then you do meet some of those unique small market teams, the Rick Carlisles, the Eric Spoelstras, the Greg Popovich, which I understand is not Greg Popovich anymore. But then those teams seem to at least have an identity. And then when the Pacers get that roster together, they can finally go compete because they got a head coach that's been there around long enough to understand the culture and know what it takes to get a small market team to go and compete. And maybe that's just the bigger problem of it is these small market teams are just more comfortable holding on because the expectations aren't as high for them to go out and win or pursue Western, Eastern Conference finals every year, unlike the Lakers, unlike the Knicks. I'd like to say the Bulls, but the Bulls feel like they're pretty okay with sitting right in the middle of the road, and Billy Donovan's been coaching there. He's been there for a while. It's incredible to me that Billy Donovan is still the head coach of the Chicago Bulls because the team's just stayed totally lateral. I mean, you get rid of Lonzo Ball, you get rid of Alex Caruso, you get rid of DeMar DeRozan, you get rid of Zach LaVine. Didn't get a whole lot of picks for it. I think 2 picks at the most. You traded away all your best assets, and you get Okoro from Cleveland. You get Josh Giddey from Alex Caruso, which I can live with Josh Giddey. That's a one-off trade. Yeah, you didn't get any picks. Picks would have been great. I still think you should have went for some picks, but you didn't get any. But Giddey's turned out to be a phenomenal player. You just see this Bulls go down this road of complacency. So maybe that's just the other part of it where these small market teams feel more comfortable that they don't have to go out and win it. Therefore, they're not going to go out for a head coaching search every time they fall short. But it always just sticks out to me. Because, again, when you look at the NFL, you're not going to see them fire Andy Reid just because he has a couple bad years where they missed the playoffs. Or, really, even Tomlin, who time and time again, is it the best results that you want? No. But at least it's competitive. He's 500 or above 500 every single year. In the NBA, that still gets fired. And there's so much craziness with NBA coaches and letting those guys go. And then you also have the issue in the NBA with the GMs. The GM tenure is even shorter on average. So you have head coaches in and out the doors, working with GMs who are in and out the doors. How does that build a good, consistent team? When you have a new game plan about how you want to build this roster, about every 4 years, and you got a new head coach coaching it, which feels like every 5 years or 4 years or 3. It is such a short window to get that consistency. And that's why when you finally do see a team like the OKC Thunder, who have stuck it out with the head coach, the GM's been incredible. He's been there for a long time. It's a good business top to bottom. Everyone's been there. Everyone knows what the team's goals are. There's consistency and not chaos. Every time you get a new hire in there, there's a chance that things go great and there's a chance that there's chaos. Chaos usually leads to pretty bad years. And I think that's why a lot of teams get caught in that cycle. Like the Charlotte Hornets, the Detroit Pistons maybe are finally out of it. Phoenix Suns, where they went on there, Monty Williams, they're firing coaches left and right, trying to figure it out. And then maybe it's the players. Let's bring in Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and just over and over and over again, can't figure it out. And Frank Vogel ended up coaching there. He gets fired as well. He also got fired from the Lakers after winning them a title and then the Mickey Mouse title. And the next year, LeBron James get injured, not good enough, they fire him. Just completely forgetting the past and what he did for that team. And then I'm saying just because you did it for the team means you get to stay there forever, but you think there would be a little more patience in deciding whether or not we get rid of these guys. And Mike Malone is always the biggest one that struck out this season. Just a absolute bizarre move. And like I said, there's got to be more to that story because in no world, if I am the owner of the Denver Nuggets, I'm never letting that happen. Not right before the most important part of that season stretch. And even if there's a little bit of turmoil, I'm getting the guys in the room and let's figure it out. This is the guy, the coach, that got us our first championship here in Denver. There's no reason to think that he isn't the guy anymore, just because there's a little bit of feud between the GM and the head coach. That's the stuff that's going to get ironed out. And just really surprising to see so many head coaches in the NBA on such a short lease. And it just does not seem to matter what you did in the past, unless you're one of those small market teams, the rare ones like the Heat that I mentioned and the Spurs that I mentioned. And you can throw a few more honorable mentions in there, but it always just baffles me, the NBA in their short patience when it comes to coaches and GMs. And then they wonder why their team has been an absolute mess of chaos and inconsistency for years. It's well, think of any business where, the main people in charge are rotating in and out consistently. You're just, all you're going to get is chaos. And you maybe get lucky. You maybe have some years in the year where things just click right, but the odds of that staying together are slim. Unless you learn the lesson that keeping guys around for longer and having some patience, at least in my mind, typically works out better. So there's my rant on just like the NBA coaches compared to NFL coaches. This year in particular was a just bizarre one. Some other news in the NBA, and we'll talk about this for about 4 more minutes before we throw it to break. And then on the other side, we'll get our Husker football content before we officially sign off on the ticket for the weekend. We will have replays, obviously, on Allo Channel 961 for anyone who wants to keep watching it on Allo Cable. But final thing on the NBA before we switch it over, viewership was also a problem this year. And it was one that I don't think, well, maybe people did expect it. If you go look at the NBA playoffs, a lot of small market teams. And that was kind of the problem of it. It was exciting to get a Pacers matchup, but at the same, or a Pacers and Thunder matchup, but at the same time, that stuff ironically hurts the league. So this one from the NBA players have to forfeit $480 million from escrow fund after revenue shortfall. Curry, the highest paid player at $55.8 million, will forfeit $5.1 million. Other star players facing cuts include Joel Embiid. He has to forfeit $4.7 million. Jokic has to forfeit $4.7 million. Bradley Beal has to forfeit $4.6 million. And Kevin Durant has to forfeit $4.5 million. So, and you may ask why the reason that is. NBA players will forfeit more than $480 million from escrow fund. League's basketball-related income fell short of the projections for the 24-25 season. So that, again, is why they're having to pay this money back. The escrow fund, after the league's basketball-related income fell short of the projections for the 24-25 season. The NBA pegged BRI at $10.25 million, according to someone familiar with accounting. Players will retain just 90.9% of their salaries from last season. The collective bargaining agreement requires the league to withhold 10% of player salaries to ensure the revenue split stays at 51% for players. So, again, that comes to the players' bargaining agreement. Players get 51% of the revenue. If you don't take some money back, they're going to be over 51%. And it's really unfortunate for obviously like the guys like Steph Curry, they're taking the biggest hits on it. But it's a little bit of both, where you get to the postseason playoffs and you got a bunch of small market teams that's going to hurt your numbers. But I also think you see it with some of these blackouts. The NBA in this new streaming era, and especially for any of those that are fans of NBA teams out there, I'm curious if you went traveling somewhere or, you have a team pass and then you'll go to certain areas in the country or you even be at your own place and you will want to watch the game and you'll still have a blackout. That stuff is infuriating. And then you wonder if the Bally Sports going under was a big problem of it as well. And if that's also where they're hurting. But, the biggest problem for NBA media right now is I think the blackouts are ridiculous. The streaming, trying to find all the streams that are possible. Like the best way to do it is to get a team pass or an NBA league pass. But then again, you can still go to certain areas and ironically get blackouts. So that is a huge problem. And the other part, that I'm curious if NBA fans truly feel this way or not. There is the sentiment going on that the media around the NBA has, over the past 15 years, has hurt the NBA's product. Guys like Stephen A. Smith, Shaq, Charles Barkley, and maybe being more negative than positive, constantly talking down on the NBA. And I get in this trap too. The flopping, the amount of free throws, which, the free throws always been there. We can argue that it's a lot more than it has been in the past, but I think in reality, it's really not that big of a difference. But the flopping certainly is. But you do hear pretty much all negative stuff all the time. So I think there is a fair argument to that. But, at the same time, the game's drastically different. And I can understand the quote unquote old heads with a lot of that stuff. When I watch the NBA today, the season was incredible. I still think it was a great season, exciting season to watch. But if I were to ask my dad to describe basketball when he was growing up, it would look nothing like the product that I just saw. And, I think there is that little gap there on just different eras of basketball that the bridge had never meshed completely, to the point where you have the media, pretty consistently negative. And it shouldn't be surprising that the guys who never practiced load management, who made way less money, who had to take bus rides way more often, that didn't have all this nice gear, are upset with players in load management who make more money than ever, have more endorsement deals than ever. The players' union stronger than ever. They're more free to really decide their destiny and force themselves out in trades. So I can see how that rubs those guys the wrong way. It's like we built the league and it feels like those guys are taking advantage of it. I'm not saying that they're right or wrong, but it is something to consider. Why has NBA viewership consistently decided to drop? Is it just the play on the court? Is it the media surrounding it? Is it the nonsense of a lot of the streamings? And this isn't just an NBA problem, although I feel like it happens more in the NBA, or some of the ridiculous streaming problems where you end up with blackout scenarios, despite you paying for the product. So NBA in a nutshell, viewership isn't great, to the point where this year, again, they fell short of that escrow fund, and they had to forfeit our players had to retain just 90.9%. So basically had to forfeit about 9% of this year's profits to keep it, so they just stayed at that 51 revenue split. That's problematic. And if this trend continues, and it shouldn't be a small market team, but it does make a difference. I think it's more with just the viewership in general over the regular season. It hurts a lot. So NBA's got a lot of problems in the head. Definitely nowhere near dead. It's going to keep making money. This is hurting the players more than it is anybody else. But at the end of the day, it is a problem that the NBA has got to figure out. Because if we keep seeing year after year that the viewership declines, and it's only good when you have big market teams in there, it's not a great thing either. That you only make money when you get the Lakers and the Celtics. You only make money if you get the Knicks and, pick any other big market team out there. In years past, it didn't have to be that way. You didn't have to get only big market teams far into the postseason playoffs for the league to make decent money. And they still make money. But like I said, the players had to forfeit because they fell short of their projections. The league even knows the sport isn't necessarily as popular as it used to be, and they were still over on the projections. That's problematic. That's not a great problem to have for the league. With that being said, we'll throw it to break here. We'll wrap it up on NBA talk. We'll just talk straight Husker football segments 2 and 3. And then, like I said, 7, 8 o'clock, I will replay that AJ Ferrari interview on that first hour of Bach in the Black Shirt. So don't go anywhere. We still got plenty left for you here on Ticket Weeknights the day before July 4th. Talk to you in a little bit.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
Batter up. Join us this summer at Haymarket Park for 50 action-packed Salt Dogs games running now through August. Visit saltdogs.com for updates on everything you need to know about weekly promotions, giveaways, and special events. That's where you'll find the latest updates to make sure you catch all the excitement and never miss a homestand you want to attend. Haymarket Park is your ticket to fun all summer long. Visit saltdogs.com to get your tickets and unleash the fun.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see lots of sunshine. It'll be breezy and hot with an afternoon high near 94. Tonight, clear skies, continued breeze, a low around 72. And tomorrow, a chance of showers and storms in the afternoon. Otherwise, mainly sunny and breezy with a high near 91. I'm meteorologist Kyle collecting for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Load up on meat and more this spring at The Mercado by Certified Piedmontese with great selections of T-bones, tomahawks, ribeyes, filet mignon, brisket, sirloin, and so much more. The Mercado has locations at 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, and now 85th and Old Cheney in Lincoln, where you can have $2 draft beer every Thursday night from 4 to 8 p.m. and half-price espresso drinks on Fridays from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Get to The Mercado today for the best meat in town.
Why are some people more successful? Is it talent and determination, or did they recognize an opportunity? Discover a career that lets you help families reach their financial goals as you build lasting professional relationships. One with unlimited income potential. From Modern Woodman, a leading fraternal financial services provider.
I'm Modern Woodman Regional Director Sean Erickson. Call me at 402-483-6515 to learn about career opportunities.
Modern Woodman of America. Touching lives, securing futures.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Is your child 7 to 8 years old and wanting to get involved in competitive baseball or softball? The Nebraska Dominators have been active in the youth sports community since 1994 and are currently holding tryouts for their 7U and 8U baseball and softball teams. Visit the Nebraska Dominators Facebook page for more info today and provide your player the path to a successful and enjoyable youth sports experience with the help of the Nebraska Dominators.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Cobble Chevrolet GMC, and the hail sale has been a huge success, but is winding down. We still have several units with huge discounts. Plus, we have brand new Sierras, 14,000 off list, or starting at 37,105, or 0.9% APR on select new models. Yes, you heard right. 14,000 off or 0.9% APR on new Sierras starting at 37,105. So please check us out at cobblecars.com. All deals with roof credit, stock number G289358.
4th of July weekend is coming soon, and you know what that means. Grilling season. You know what's more embarrassing than an overcooked piece of meat? A dirty, disgusting, and grimy grill. Let the pros at Husker Grill Cleaning get you ready for grilling season. They'll take your grill apart piece by piece, scrub every inch, and reassemble your grill so it can look and perform its best. Visit their website, huskergrillcleaning.com today to schedule your appointment. Husker Grill Cleaning, serving Lincoln, Omaha, Malcolm, and more.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
Back to the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in segment number 2, solo Ticket Weeknights with Harrison Harns, 402-464-5685. As always, that is the Starter Heyman text line. And as I mentioned, we're going to switch it up, talking some Husker football as we got a long break here, and won't be on air until Sunday morning. So we'll have a little bit of break from all sports, at least on the brick and mortar that isn't local. Obviously, we're going to still have the national stuff over the airwaves, then local stuff on Allo Channel 961. But before we even do that, just a quick side note. K-State Tamanaga is having more opportunities to play in the NBA. This year, he will be playing for the Indiana Pacers NBA Summer League team, which I think is awesome. If there is a team where K-State Tamanaga fits, it is an up-tempo, flying up and down the court Pacers team. It's going to hide a lot of his weaknesses going up and down the court, forcing teams to play them in transition, not isolating him in a lot of half-court shots. And with his explosiveness, like, that's the exact type of team I think he would work great on with that type of philosophy. And also Juwan Garrity with the Los Angeles Clippers. That's not breaking news. That was a little while ago, but you got a couple Huskers in Summer League that are going to have an opportunity. K-State Tamanaga from last year's class, and obviously Juwan Garrity from this year's. Now over to the NBA. As I mentioned on that first segment, we're getting to that point where, the countdown is close. Now, under a couple months away here for some Husker football, and you get to the optimistic part. This was really right before Big Ten Media Days last year, where you're starting to hear some of the optimism coming from the coaching staff. And Michael Severe had a pretty interesting interview, and I'll put down some of the quotes that he had himself on why he's really bullish on Husker football this year. And this is his words. Michael Severe said, quote, and why he thinks they're good. Part of it is listening to the coaches talk and going, wow, they're really confident. And then there's something to be said when you're outside of the real media and they're just talking themselves. And you hear that confidence and you're like, oh, they really are confident. And they are, and that's just part of it. So again, you're taking a leap of faith here. But his whole argument is they're incredibly confident behind the scenes. That even when they're talking amongst themselves, you're avoiding all the coach talks. There's no media or anything around you. You're hearing positive things. And you're worried, I think, about that defensive line. But then you also have more quotes from Michael Severe here. Then this one caught me off guard. So this is another quote from him. I went back and I watched every single snap, every single week of what Gunnar Gatula did. And I'm telling you, he had to get some double teams to get help. But for the most part, he had a really good year for a guy who just got thrown in there without any experience. So because of that, and this is not new, I said this on Big Red Wrap Up way back during last season. Yes, they're going to miss Ty Robinson. Yes, they're going to miss Nash Hutmacher, but they're going to be much more athletic. They're going to be able to help do some gapping stuff that necessarily couldn't do. And as good as Ty was, I believe that Riley Van Poppel will be better than him. I believe Riley Van Poppel is going to be an all-conference player. I believe that guy has the skills, even though he's tall like Ty was. He has a much more better lean, stays low. He's better laterally. So he's got some incredibly high praise from Riley Van Poppel. And that one's interesting to me because Ty Robinson is, you throw Nash in there too, of course, but Ty Robinson, I think, was a huge worry for a lot of people. And it rightfully still can be a worry. But you do have people sitting in there that are watching Riley Van Poppel in offseason, and they were watching tape last year, every single snap. And you got a guy like Michael Severe saying he's going to be better than Ty Robinson if everything goes according to plan. So that should help out your defense a little bit. Now, you still got John Butler in there. Tony White, no longer the defensive coordinator. But he goes on to say, in paraphrasing here, Matt Rule, that's his specialty, is the teams that he's coached, defense has been good. Offense can be problematic. Even at the Carolina Panthers, his defense, the year he got fired, that defense was still solid. He gets guys flying around, playing well. And now with Dana Holgerson taking over the offense, he can, if needed, really lock in on John Butler with that defense and help him out. Because, John Butler track record, it's not like it's bad or anything, but you maybe have some uncertainty there. But that is, in my eyes, Matt Rule's specialty. Now, the thing that sticks out that has been the nightmare for all of Husker football is special teams. And that's why Mike Eckler hire, for me, is massive. Also, keeping Ed Foley on staff, I think, is a big deal. Whatever you think of Ed Foley, Satterfield, he still got those guys on staff. So you're not losing any of the communication from the past. Satterfield can go be working on those tight ends as a specialty coach or as a position coach. And he's got a lot of work to do as well. Obviously, you get a guy like Heinrich Harburg in there who's going to require some special attention. So you get Satterfield in there as that position coach, a really, you could say overqualified position coach. It's kind of what I thought of Eric Bieniemy with the Chicago Bears right now as a running backs coach. What he did at UCLA as that offensive coordinator, in my eyes, was really phenomenal. And another year with him down there, especially now they got Nico Iamaleava, I think UCLA could have been much more dangerous that they're able to retain him. But I think it might have been pretty well understood there that was just a stop for Eric Bieniemy, not a permanent stay. But nonetheless, when I'm talking about these coaches at Nebraska, I like the coaching staff a lot. And the players and the media that you're hearing around it has all been pretty positive. And you don't want to just start chugging Kool-Aid because I'm guilty of that myself. You get too excited. 3, 4, sometimes like as early as 4 games in, we're already worried. Last year, that wasn't the case, but in years prior, it certainly has been. I'm still waiting until Saturday to believe it. But I'm telling you, when you look at this staff, if Mike Eckler is really the right guy for the special teams job, I feel much better about this season. Now, I'm not going to go out here and call an 11-win season for Nebraska football, but my jaw isn't going to hit the floor if it does. And I say this because looking at the schedule, and there's always a little bit of a trap here because we've done this 100 times before, and then we get to teams like Purdue, Northwestern, Minnesota, and we just say win, 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 and then we go play the games and we lose. So take it with a grain of salt when I do this. Nebraska at Cincinnati. I think this is a bigger game than people expect. I shouldn't say that. I think there's a bigger chance to lose than people expect. With Cincinnati, I'm just not going to write them off. This is a huge game. It will be mostly a home game because it's being obviously over in Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City. Easy travel for a lot of Lincolnites. Not so easy for a lot of Cincinnati Bearcat fans. But a big challenge there. But I'm going to go ahead and say Nebraska wins it. I think this team's locked in right now. I think they'll be better coming off the beginning of the season than Cincinnati, and just talent-wise as well. If they hold up on their end of the deal on paper, should be a win. Akron, Houston Christian. All right, so 3-0. Then the big test is Michigan. Just for the sake of it, I'm going to say loss. I think there's a real chance, especially Sharon Moore, will not be coaching in that game because he's got to go to his alma mater party at Oklahoma, so he's not going to forfeit those games. He's going to forfeit after those games and then decide to sit out for his punishment. But that's the whole side tangent in itself. Then you got Michigan State. I'll call that a win. Maryland, win. Minnesota, win. Northwestern, win. USC at home, I feel better about. It's a tough game, though. I'll go win. UCLA, win. And Penn State, Iowa. I'll say a loss to Penn State and a win to Iowa. And if I'm being realistic, give me UCLA or USC, and that's a coin flip. UCLA with Nico Iamaleava, I just got to see it. How good is that team offensively without Eric Bieniemy? If he was still there, I might have given the win to UCLA, especially the way they showed up. And let's just be honest. UCLA punked us. They came to the Midwest and they've just punked Nebraska. I've never seen a California team come in there as the more tougher Midwestern looking team. That game hurt, I think, the soul of a lot of Nebraska fans to see a bunch of UCLA guys come to the Midwest and be tougher, physical, and want it more. That game was tough. So I'm just not going to write off UCLA or USC because they both beat us last year. But even with that being said, so you throw in a USC or UCLA, that's 1 loss, Penn State 2 loss, and Michigan 3 loss. That's a pretty solid year. And it's not 11 wins, but it's totally doable. And if you can get to that point, all of a sudden you're getting to that echelon where recruiting just becomes that much easier. Nebraska, I believe, has only had 1 top 25 finish. They might have had 0 top 25 finishes in the past. You'd have to go since like 2016, probably since that bowl era, with Mike Riley. And even then, how bad we lost at the end there, it might even be worse than that. You got to get to that, finish this season well, be a contending team. And to do that, it's usually 9 wins. 8 wins, 7 wins, it gets a little tougher. But if you fall anything short of 7, recruiting becomes abysmal. And there is some concern there. As right now, the class of 2026, I'm not going to say we all need to panic and hit the alarm buttons, but it's sitting there at 61 composite rank overall. And that's including, you got 2 4-stars in there, but it's just not really a full class yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 commits total in that class. So you got to pick it up there. But you also got the 105 roster limit impending as well. So it is a interesting period for Husker football, and especially when it comes to recruiting. Because again, you look at this 2026 class, you might want to panic. Same time, you're trying to figure in, okay, we have the 105 roster limit as well going to kick in. So there's a lot of number crunching going on here. So don't just necessarily panic with these composition rankings this early on. Give it some time, wait and see what happens. Obviously, there's still portal guys, all that's available, but it's going to be an interesting case for Nebraska. And if they can't take care of this season, when I say take care of it, it doesn't mean 11 wins. It doesn't mean 10 wins. That just means 8 wins. I think if you get 8 wins on this schedule, people will start to buy that Nebraska football is well on the way back. And all of a sudden, recruiting doors will open up again. And especially if Dylan Raiola shows out and he has a good season, if Dana Holgerson is on staff and he proves that offense could be lethal, we'll do much better getting offensive guys. Right now, I think it's a lot easier for us to go get defensive guys because we have a history of good defense despite what has been pretty woeful win-loss record-wise. The offense, let's be real, there's not a lot of teams that, if you're going to look at the past 5 years of Husker football, do you really want to go play for an offense like that? Probably not. So you give them an on-campus visit, you talk to Matt Rule, hopefully the Matt Rule and the facilities and the guys that we have right now, the up-and-coming Trey Taylor, Dylan Raiola, the portals that we got. Obviously, you got Rocco Spindler, Notre Dame. You're getting some interest out there because they're buying in my opinion, to what Matt Rule's selling. You know what gets people to stop buying is if you just go out and have a horrible season and then you get a few transfers and then before you know it, you're back to square one. So doesn't need to be said. Obviously, clearly important rule or year for Matt Rule and company. But I do think if they can get this done, and it doesn't mean, I think even 7-5 might be good enough. But if you can get to 8, I think the barriers really start to fall down. And all of a sudden you can be up there. You're not going to outcompete Ohio State or Michigan yet in recruiting. And that might just be a money thing. And you go back to, yes, there's the $20.5 million cap on it, but let's be real, the bag man's always going to exist. People are going to find a way to outpay somebody else. It was like that before it was even legal, so it's hard for me to believe that's not going to happen when it's legal, just only to a certain limit. Well, when you get to that certain limit, I can almost guarantee you, unfortunately, there's going to be some people that find ways around that. Even if it's as simple as back to put the money in the McDonald's bag in your apartment, getting DoorDash and you get a bag of money instead of, your McNuggets or whatever you ordered. So I think that's always going to be a little bit problematic, even with the salary cap. I think we're going to see those teams that have had advantages in the past still somehow hold those advantages until they start losing and the boosters don't get interested. But, if they keep paying for the best players, it's going to be a long time before those teams have a bad year where they lose enough to the point to where the money doesn't support it anymore. With that being said, we got to throw out the break here a little bit over the clock. We got one more segment on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Harrison Arens going solo, 93.7 The Ticket. Talk to you in a little bit.
Why are some people more successful? Is it talent and determination, or did they recognize an opportunity? Discover a career that lets you help families reach their financial goals as you build lasting professional relationships, one with unlimited income potential. From Modern Woodman, a leading fraternal financial services provider.
I'm Modern Woodman Regional Director Sean Erickson. Call me at 402-483-6515 to learn about career opportunities.
Modern Woodman of America, touching lives, securing futures.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Hey guys, you have heard about the Farrell's 10-week challenge for years on the ticket. If you still haven't joined us for this amazing challenge, what are you waiting for? You could be our next $1,000 winner like Derek, who just lost 30 pounds, 23 inches, and 8% body fat. Derek changed his life in the 10-week challenge, and so can you. Farrell's combines kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching to get you the results you have been waiting for. Join us July 12th for the Summer 10-Week Challenge. Go to fxblincoln.com to enroll today.
Batter up! Join us this summer at Haymarket Park for 50 action-packed Salt Dogs games running now through August. Visit saltdogs.com for updates on everything you need to know about weekly promotions, giveaways, and special events. That's where you'll find the latest updates to make sure you catch all the excitement and never miss a homestand you want to attend. Haymarket Park is your ticket to fun all summer long. Visit saltdogs.com to get your tickets and unleash the fun.
Saturday. Eagle Raceway is open for a full season of dirt track racing action every Saturday night. Don't miss the epic battles on the high banks of Eagle Raceway each Saturday between the Nebraska Septic Sprint Cars, Nebraska Lottery Modifieds, Avid Realty Sport Mods, Valentino's Hobby Stocks, and A1 Iron Stock Cars. Let's go racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street. Check out the full schedule at eagleraceway.com.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Take control of your health with the DASH scan at Advanced Medical Imaging. The DASH scan is a full-body MRI designed for advanced health screening. This dynamic approach provides exceptionally sharp images across multiple organ systems, helping to detect potential concerns early. With minimal radiation and no invasive procedures, the Dash scan offers a safe, comprehensive look at your health. Plus, results are delivered faster than ever, giving both patients and physicians confidence in screening and diagnosis. Your health is too important to wait. Schedule your Dash scan today at Advanced Medical Imaging. Visit amimaging.com or call 402-484-6677 to learn more.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
Are you looking to upgrade or improve the garage door on your home? This is Cameron Hall of Doors Plus. At Doors Plus, we guarantee to offer a wide selection of options from 5 leading garage door manufacturers as we deliver a free estimate, exact measurements, and rapid installation with a 3 to 5 week time frame. When you choose Doors Plus for your residential garage door needs, you'll work with our experienced technicians and be ensured that your new door seamlessly complements your home. Give us a call at 402-590-5800 or visit us online at doorsplusllc.com. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize to participate in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contests, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe. Back to the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in for the final segment. Ticket Weeknights, Harrison Arens going solo only for a few more minutes here before we wrap things up. And then, like I said, we'll send things over to replay in case you missed it. The Black Shirt and Jake Bachven, they had AJ Ferrari on, the big-time Husker transfer wrestler coming in here and joining Mark Manning's program, and things are shifting drastically in the wrestling world. All of a sudden, Nebraska is becoming, it's always been a threat, but now it's becoming a major threat, even to the likes of schools like Penn State and then Iowa, who we surpassed already. So it just seems to get better and stronger. With that being said, though, before we get there, quick one more from the text line. Shout out to Augie. Appreciate the kind words as always. And wants to know, what do I worry about next season the most? Offense, defense, special teams, or coaching? Biggest one for me is special teams. Like I say it over and over, and I don't think I'm alone in that. I would imagine most people have held their breath more often than they should when Nebraska's field goal team went out there, or their kicking team, or their punt return team, or their punt team. We've had a disaster at every area of our special teams, year in, year out. New coach, new punter, new kicker, new snap holder. It's been insanity. And it's not all just on bad coaching. I think sometimes it is a little bit of weird luck that's been going on. It's really the last time our special teams I had any confidence in that I knew was consistently going to be able to compete was Bo Pelini's special teams. Like, I really believe that. It's been that bad. So until I see it on a Saturday, and I do think Mike Eckler's the right guy for the job, but I just still have to see it. And can we get a lethal punt return? You know, we talked to DeMornay Pierce now for the longest time. And anybody who grew up in that era understood how much of a problem it is if your special teams can be explosive. You know, when you have a guy like Demarni Pierce-Snell who's flirting around the number of 10 average return yards, that means on average you're saving a first down that you don't have to work for. B, that means he ripped off some major runs for some near the end zone or all the way to the house. How much does that swing a game? Drastically. How many times have we lost to Iowa because of special teams? So what's my biggest concern? Special teams. Because I can't do another loss to Iowa because of special teams lapse of error. It's been the recipe for teams like Iowa in the Big Ten, the close games, the defensive grinded games, the time of possession. Time of possession is great, but if you can't score, it doesn't mean a whole lot. And when you have bad special teams and you can't make a field goal, no one really gives a damn if you held the ball off for 10 minutes, if you missed the field goal at the end. Maybe their defense is a little bit tired, but their offense got a ton of rest and a lot of time to game plan what they're going to do. And if they capitalize on it, you just went 10 minutes without scoring. Like, you're going to be a little bit disheartened unless you can do, finally have an explosive play. And that was the problem for Nebraska, is even if we would have times where Dylan Raiola, explosive play down the field, whether it's a great throw or pass interference flag gets drawn, we're in the red zone, miss the field goal, or we can't get 6. So the red zone operations are obviously crucial. We have to be better there. But the special teams, it is a no-brainer, I think, to everyone who's watched Husker football over the past, you could go 5-7 years. It's been an absolute nightmare. And it has cost this teams more games than I can count. We wouldn't have had to talk about being a non-bowling team for the longest time if we just would have been able to take care of our special teams operations on a lot of those years. And we've wasted some really good defenses. I can't say the same about the offenses, but all I was say is if you don't have special teams, it's really hard to close out close games. And you can win games simply by special teams. And I hate, glorifying Iowa as the example, but you just look at what Iowa does year in, year out. It is time of possession and elite special teams and good defense. The offense isn't explosive, sure, but it's good time possession, elite defense, and they always execute on special teams. It's hard to beat a team that has no lapses in error, and unfortunately, Nebraska has been the team in the past that's had tons of lapses and mental errors. So, with that being said, that's going to wrap it up for me. Appreciate everyone listening out there. Hope everyone has a great 4th of July weekend, but don't go anywhere yet. Like I said, AJ Ferrari interview replay coming up next.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Their strong team culture makes it